On today's show, we're following the Mississippi downstream to the Gulf of Mexico to make a cast and escape the winter blast.
I thought this was supposed to be fun.
We also found gold, a huge strike by yellowfin tuna, the best there is. Later, it's a walk in the park, this time the beautiful Cooke State Park. You'll want to go there. And also, a story that reminds us of the danger of deer ticks and Lyme disease. Be safe this spring. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hi everybody, Raven and I welcome you to the show. If you remember, a few weeks ago we took you on a fishing adventure to the Louisiana Bayou. Well, guess what? We caught so many fish, didn't have time to show them all to you, including the fighting yellowfin tuna that, wears your arm out.
Where the Mississippi begins in Minnesota is a famous story. So too is the river's end. 2,300 miles later, near Venice, Louisiana, in the Gulf of Mexico. In Minnesota, the river floats canoes. At the other end, it floats ocean liners. One end winds through native pines, the other end leads to oil rigs and natural gas pumping stations that keep America running. Both ends of the mighty Mississippi harbor fish, however. Walleyes at the headwaters, in the Gulf, redfish, and lots of strange catches.
You see, you got old shells. These are dead shells right here.
Yeah.
These are all just dead shells. That's a good oyster.
That's a good one, right?
That's a good one. And
What are all these little guys?
That's all new ones.
New oysters?
That's all stuff, that's all growing.
This end of the Mississippi tends to only make news when assaulted by oil spills or hurricanes. But there's another story here, a fishing tale, not seldom told.
I've been spoiled enough to grow up my entire life with this world-class fishery here. For my money, I wouldn't fish anywhere other than Louisiana. There's no doubt that those events were devastating to the resource and to the industries that surround our fisheries resources. But, you know, it's a resilient landscape, it's a dynamic system, and the quality of our fishing just doesn't go away. I think that you'll find, despite the challenges that our resource has been faced with recently, it's productive as ever.
Oh, I missed mine.
World-class opportunities are still right here waiting for you. And I invite anyone to come down here and experience it for themselves.
So I have, catching everything from sharks one day
Yeah, I'm gaining ground, yeah.
to a champion fighter known as Amberjack.
Yeah, I only got a mile to go. Isn't quite a walleye, I'll just tell you that. Oh yeah, Amberjack.
Nice 35-pound fish.
With only a dozen or so aching muscles. So, time to relax with a little southern hospitality, huh? And we found it, the houseboat of your dreams. Come aboard the Pelican Roost. Captain Randall Shaw knows all about this high-class houseboat.
The goal was to make the most exclusive lodge and everything at the highest end capable of everything we do, from the guiding to the lodging, to the chef, to the bartenders, and then also be within range of downtown New Orleans and the airport. There's a lot of history in this boat. Every antique's got a story behind it, and they're constantly rotating.
Yes, a houseboat with so much to see and ponder, and the best part? It can all be yours to rent for a day or a week or whatever you can afford. But it ain't cheap. When we return, we'll continue our Cajun fishing adventure. Hang on. When a tuna is on the other end of the line, be prepared to be tired.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC dealers, Alumacraft, Radco Truck Accessories, and by Connecticut.
Let's head back now to the Louisiana Bayou. About 15 miles off the coast, as I promised, we stumbled into a school of yellowfin tuna. I tell you what, they know how to fight.
Another Delta Dawn. And another day on the water for Captain Billy Wells.
Been down here running charters for about 20 years, but I guess about 12 years ago we got together and formed the Mexican Gulf Fishing Company.
Dull days are rare on board Captain Billy's 42-foot fishing machine he calls Wild Bill. First task, finding bait.
All those red dots, that's all the big fish we're looking for.
Second task, catch a tuna. It didn't take long.
Are you ready?
Oh, I think so. Oh, my Lord. Do they give up at a certain point? I thought this was supposed to be fun. I see one. Mine must be bigger. Look at that guy. Cool. You know, they're built just like a torpedo. The whole thing is muscle.
But wait, this must be some mistake. This was too easy. Yellowfin tuna, the best there is. Are you kidding me? Tuna hanging around a natural gas pumping station?
But it's been a few years since I've fished for tuna. I've forgotten what this is. This is a battle that after you land one, you're really not sure you want to land a second one. But you know what you do? You do. You go for the second one. Here we go. Let's see what happens.
I don't know if you're ready for a second one, but it's time for the second one.
I'm not ready, but I am ready.
I hear pretty much on a daily basis they can't believe how hard these fish can pull.
Oh my Lord.
Until you're on the other end of the line, you have no clue what that fish is capable of.
He wants to pull me in too.
So what's it like tangling with the tuna? Let's put it this way. You earn your tuna fish sandwich.
This is no tuna. This is a whale. This is like fun agony. Is there such a phrase? Fun agony?
Oh, triple.
First mate Colin dropped a line and bingo.
Look at that guy.
In short order, we were done.
We're gonna let this guy go. We've got a bunch in the box, and
He's a lucky tuna.
Not too many of them get that feeling.
I bet not.
Yes, the good fishing days have returned to the Gulf. But Captain Billy also remembers how in 2010 the Deep Horizon oil spill was a nightmare.
Yeah, the oil spill was heartbreaking. You think everything that you've worked towards your whole entire life, you know, when something like that happens, you really don't know what the consequences are going to be. You know, nature kind of has a way of dealing with these things, and as you saw today, the water's beautiful, not contaminated, the fish are there, the fish are biting. I love fishing. I love big fish. I love watching someone as yourself bent over a rod, laboring, that's how we call it. It's just a lifelong love for me, and hopefully I continue doing it forever.
Coming up, we'll take a walk in the park, this time J. Cooke State Park in a forgotten part of Minnesota. You'll be surprised.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Minnesota Rebat. Walk in the Park is brought to you by the Minnesota Zoo, connecting people to animals and nature to help save wildlife around the world.
Time now for a walk in the park, and if you drive to Duluth very often, you go right by it. Let's go visit J. Cooke State Park.
People who've never been here before, I would say to expect the unexpected. It's a wild park. There are steep hillsides to climb. There's the rocky outcroppings along the river. There's this dramatic rapids going down the St. Louis. It gives you definitely a feeling of wilderness. J. Cooke State Park is located 30 minutes south of Duluth, Minnesota. Well, J. Cooke, when he came out to this area in 1868, he saw this powerful river and he thought, wow. So he bought up land all up and down the St. Louis with the idea of harnessing that water power. The land donation, although it came from Minnesota Power, it initially was his idea, and so we named it after J. Cooke. This is also a good place to see the River Gorge area along the St. Louis River and to see the trestle bridge that goes across. We have a paved bike trail connection that comes right out of our campground area and leads up to the Willard Munger State Trail. The swinging bridge has been here since 1924, which looked very different than what we see today. It looked really rickety, kind of, that Indiana Jones kind of style of bridge. So in 1934, the boys of the Civilian Conservation Corps built us the permanent swinging bridge with those familiar stone pillars that we see today. Altogether, we've raised the bridge 7.5 feet, trying to stay above floodwater. In 2012, the river rose to its highest ever recorded level, destroyed the swinging bridge, but the stone pillars that the CCC boys built back in 1934, they remained. We have a unique rock formation called the Thompson Formation. Earthquake movements tilted them up and pushed it forward and started bending and folding the rocks. So they look like these sharp spikes sticking out of the water. Spring and early summer is a good time to come into the park because the river usually has risen, and it's rather dramatic. 15,000 years ago, the last major geological event occurred in the park, and that was the melting of the glaciers. But as that melted, the meltwater had nowhere to go, and so the park area flooded under a glacial lake. There's also another glacier up by Aitken. As that melts, it starts carving out a river valley that eventually forms the St. Louis River. We have 50 miles of hiking trails, everything from easy to intermediate to that really steep, difficult climb. Some have wonderful panoramic views. So right behind me is one of 3 overlooks that are located at Oldenburg Point. You're going to see what the entire park looks like. All the land that you look out there, all the trees, that's the 8,818 acres of J. Cooke State Park. The park has beautiful spring wildflowers. This is a fun little plant. Jack-in-the-pulpit is usually hidden. It's a green plant, but when you lift the flap here, you see that it is rather brightly colored. These are yellow wood violets. This is large flowered bellwort. These are yellow lady slippers. Kind of a fun little plant. It's one of the orchids in Minnesota. People don't necessarily think of orchids being here, but we have many orchids. People also come to hear the birds. We have 190 different species of birds in the park. We eventually developed a campground in the 1950s that has 82 campsites. You know, people have been coming here for 90 years. Of course, they like to visit the swinging bridge and look at the river. They laugh, they giggle, they shriek. They like to see how the water moves underneath. Some people, though, don't like it at all. They'll stand on the edge, wait for their families to go across. That's fine, too.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by the Yard Maintenance-Free Outdoor Furniture, Running Aces Casino and Racetrack, Bent Creek Golf Club Eden Prairie, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Hey anglers, it's time for the annual Minnesota-bound crappie fishing contest Saturday, May 5th on Lake Minnetonka. Grand prize in a Lumacraft boat, motor, and trailer. You must enter to win. Details online at mnbound.com or at participating Mills Fleet Farm stores. Fish on!
Welcome back. You know, now as the days get warmer, something you should keep in mind if you're out hunting morel mushrooms or wild turkeys or just walking in the woods, the deer ticks will be out. And that means they possibly could carry Lyme disease. Let's find out everything we need to know about limes.
A Minnesota forest is not just habitat for deer or squirrels or rough grouse. Danger also lurks here. Not big bad bears, but tiny biting creatures known as deer ticks. Ticks that carry something called Lyme disease.
This is the adult female, the adult male, and this is the nymph.
Dr. Betty Maloney is a family practitioner and a Lyme disease expert.
We are in the top 10 of all the states with Lyme disease. It's mostly the eastern seaboard and then Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Dr. Maloney says it's important to know the difference between deer ticks and wood ticks.
If you look at the deer tick closely, the body is a nice reddish brown and there is a black cape. And in the dog tick, or what we call the wood tick, that cape is white in the female. And the body is more of a ruddy brown.
Only the smaller deer tick is a carrier of Lyme disease.
You only get Lyme if the tick has been attached, and usually it has to be a minimum of 24 hours.
Minnesotans who hunt, camp, or hike in woodsy areas are most apt to run into deer ticks. But if you're a golfer, be warned.
The golf courses have a lot of deer. And so if you're in the rough, you are in prime tick country.
We cut on the wooded side back.
Minnesota homeowner Jan Thiegy has actually fortified her woodsy backyard to keep ticks out.
We saw the ticks that were pretty prevalent on our dog and on us. And then in '04, after my daughter was diagnosed with Lyme, I said, that's enough. We're going to landscape for Lyme.
After Lyme disease struck her family, Jan also became involved with the Minnesota Lyme Association.
The role of the association is to reach out across Minnesota and inform people, build an awareness about Lyme disease.
It can make you quite sick. It can affect not only your skin with the rash that most people think about when they think about Lyme disease, but can affect your heart, your nerves, and it can give you arthritis.
While Lyme usually is curable, diagnosing for the disease can be confusing to doctors and patients alike.
Probably the most important thing to know about the symptoms is that the classic bullseye rash that everyone was trained to look for is really a rare occurrence. So 30% of the people that have reportable cases of Lyme disease, they never had any rash. Usually in the early stage of Lyme disease, you'll feel like you have a summertime flu. So you'll have fevers and chills and headaches. You feel like a truck ran over you.
Now, to avoid such a fate, if you should find a tick on you, it should be removed immediately.
The other thing I want people to do is to take that tick and put it in a baggie with a little moist paper towel or anything, because your doctor's going to want to see that tick. They want to verify that it was indeed a deer tick.
Now, mosquito repellents like this have DEET. DEET is not effective on deer ticks. You want to use something called permethrin. Permethrin on your clothing, it works. And one more thing, let's not let a little deer tick keep us from enjoying the woods. Wow, deer ticks, wood ticks, I don't know. You know, you like to think that all the creatures have a purpose. I'm still looking for the one for ticks. Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors. I'm Ron Schara, and always the star of the show is Raven. You got the truck warmed up yet?
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.